Okay. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Work Wife podcast. This is the podcast where no topics are off limits.
Hi everyone, so today we have the lovely Sinead. So Sinead is a psychotherapist who has many years of experience in mental health and is also the director of the Wellness Off and Minds Matter Counselling Services.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah.
Say hello, Sinead.
Hi everyone.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a little bit of an icebreaker like
Yeah.
we do with everyone, okay? So Eva's going to get dug into the icebreakers just to lead us in.
Yeah. So if you could eliminate one thing from your daily routine, what would it be and why?
Scrolling.
Oh, I actually, that was so good.
She just said that really
How
quickly.
did you like? You just always say that, do you?
Because you can basically disassociate. So what
Yeah.
that means is you can zone out
Yeah,
and you cannot be focused or functioning in scrolling.
yeah.
And before you know it, you've lost like 3 hours
3 hours
of
a
your
day.
life.
I always
And
do
you
that.
might not have actually gained anything important
And
from
did that,
scrolling.
literally a load of TikTok
I was
videos.
only thinking of that last night because I was looking about all the radiation on your phone and I was like, sure, you're scrolling. You have radiation on, sure you? Everything's just wrong about it.
She's mad.
Plus-
I'm
conspiracy
getting
theories.
real into all
Plus, if you are, for whatever reason, let's say something's going on in the news,
Yeah.
and there's something negative, and you're scrolling and all that's coming at you,
Yes.
I think again that can have an effect on your emotional state.
Yeah,
I don't
100%.
listen to the news, not to be fair.
Sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I'm like, it's terrible, but like even the likes of just say like the gas and all, I dwell on things like that, like, and I get
Yeah.
it really
Upset.
dwells me and I get
Yeah,
upset.
Of course you do.
So it's
Mhm.
terrible that I try not to look, but
Yeah.
it just affects me. And I think about Carter and imagine I was in that state, and then I nearly don't want them to leave me side.
Yeah.
So sometimes I like to block things out,
Sure.
like, and not look. But
Mhm.
yeah, scrolling, that's a very good one.
Yeah.
You're real precise on the one there. I just gotta say, it takes an effort to shower every day. Thinking of your scruffy things. No, I do enjoy showering. Don't get me
I know
wrong.
what you
but
mean,
you
but
know,
it's just-
sometimes you come home after a long day and like, I have to go and wash
That was me
myself.
last night. I didn't have a shower last night. I didn't even care. I was like, I actually need to sit on my hole. Like,
Yeah, but that is a really good one because it's such a time waster as well.
It
Let's
is.
be honest. Yeah,
It is.
that's a good one.
It's not like you're really learning. Now, don't get me
Benefiting.
wrong. Some videos that you'll watch like on
Are
TikTok,
beneficial.
but if you're searching are beneficial. But if you're not and you're just scrolling through like mindless stuff that really isn't giving you anything that's gonna better your life, then you're
Yeah.
wasting your time.
Or like as well, like I always say, like say if me and Atney, like we're two of us have such busy schedules, and we actually get that time to sit down together and watch a movie.
Mhm.
yeah.
Sometimes we sit down and look at our phone, and before you know it, we don't even have time to get a movie in
Uh-huh.
because
Yeah.
the two of us, now in fairness, we both have business pages,
Sure.
but before you know, you're on your phone and you're scrolling in between. We're like,
Yeah.
that hour and a half, where's that evening going?
Yeah.
You're meant to sit down and enjoy each other's company.
And if you're not scrolling on your phone, you're scrolling through Netflix trying to pick
Trying to
film for an
find-
hour as well. So it's like,
scrolling in general.
yeah.
Yeah, and you're not being mindful
And present, yeah.
and present of your environment or who's around you.
Especially if you have kids as well. Like
Sure.
Carter's often said that to me, but sorry, you're about to say something else.
No,
But he's often said that to me, like, oh, when you put the phone down, I'm like, oh my god, I have to check myself. Like,
Yeah.
I
We
didn't
don't
realise
even
I was
realise,
there. Like,
no.
yeah, you just pick, even if I go to the toilet, I'll just sit on the pot like and just scroll.
Uh-huh.
I have to bring the phone to the
Yeah.
toilet. I feel like it's actually necessary.
Yeah, no, that is such a bad habit, but that was a good one today.
Can you name 2 things that are on your bucket list?
Yeah. So I want to go back to Australia.
Right, today.
I was born there.
Oh my
What?
god, really?
Yeah. So my family, I suppose they went there to try and like better themselves
Yeah.
and earn a bit of money, and then they had me. Well, actually, my mum found out that she was pregnant on the way.
To Australia?
Yeah. They stopped off at London for a stopover and found out she was pregnant. And then she said that she had me over there, and then they came back obviously and settled back in Ireland because they were never going to kind of fully live there. But I went back. I've gone back a few times, but I'd love to go back again, more so to work.
Right, so
for
you're actually
maybe
like,
a year.
lovely.
But obviously I had children very young, and that kind of put things on hold.
Hold.
I have brought them back for a holiday,
Yeah,
but not to actually work there for a year.
I lived there.
Yeah.
And would you bring you'd wait till the kids are older, or would you be bringing the kids?
Yeah, I
with
don't know. I'd ask the kids to come with me, but I'd have to do it in a way where both of them weren't in college because they're older teenagers now.
Yeah.
So like both of them, I wouldn't want to kind of
interfere with that, like,
Yeah, and
their college course or whatever.
I
They
kind
might
of
say to me,
I don't
I'm
want to
not
go.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you'll
Yeah.
find out now after this podcast.
"Text me straight up. I have your 20 yes.
Actually, Maggie, do you want to move to Australia? So whenever you're ready.
No, I think I'd bring them as a holiday for us, a long holiday.
See how we
And
go.
then
Yeah.
see how I get on. But that would be
One
yeah,
of your goals, like.
Yeah, Yeah, and I think like it's nice to travel the world and see different things and
Yeah.
different environments and to work in different areas as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to get to know about the world.
I
Yeah.
love that. And have you got anything else on your bucket list?
Anything else on my bucket list? No, I suppose just a better self-care routine for myself, like constantly kind of monitoring that. No, I do it.
Yeah.
But constantly trying to monitor that.
Yeah, trying
So,
to put
like,
yourself first. in some
Yeah, so
situations.
it's not like, you know, like sometimes when you work and you've got a house and you've got children and you've got family, you kind of run, and before you know it, the day is gone, and then you're like, right, I'm running to, like, even when I go to yoga, I'm running to yoga.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, literally. And
And
you're
then,
running out of yoga.
Yeah, and then you're running out of yoga, and then it's like everything you're running into. So I think like really, really kind of slotting in and being mindful of that time and getting much better at that.
Yeah.
A little bit
Yeah,
more chill
that's
this
good.
time.
So we're gonna ask you a little bit of a scenario. So I don't know if you've seen the first podcast, but basically me and Eva were doing scenarios. So we've added in a scenario for each interviewer. So basically me and Eva's kind of gonna give our opinions, and if you have any opinions or help as well, to tell her what you think she should do. So I'll read out the scenario that she sent in, and then we'll go from there. So hello ladies, congratulations on the podcast. I love the first episode and can't wait for more. I have something I would love advice on, and I don't know how to go about it. I work in a retail shop, and basically I have a fling with a certain lad every now and again when we have a work night out or it's at Christmas parties. No matter what, we always end up together. It's been 6 months since we were together, but always a little flirt in work. Anyways, I basically start seeing another lad who works as a supervisor in the same retailer but a different shop. But he has been promoted to manager, which is amazing. But unfortunately for me, the role is based in my shop. I can't stop overthinking. First of all, I'm going to be seeing my manager. He thinks that's going to be the biggest concern. But how do I go about my work fling? Should I not tell him and hope he never finds out? The thing is, we're getting serious. We have met parents. I've met his child. We're crazy about each other. But I think this could break us completely. And then I'm stuck seeing him every day in work. I feel like just leaving my job. Any advice? He starts the end of July.
So I now I might be confusing what she's asking, but she's asking, does she tell him that she had a fling with someone?
I think that's the main thing. So basically, she has a little work fling with a fella. Yeah. They haven't been together.
But if she's going to get serious, I'm assuming automatically that's going to end.
Yes, but he's coming.
I think it has ended already.
Shop.
They haven't been together in 6 months.
They haven't been together in 6 months. But basically, this fella works. So, say for example, I don't know, like lifestyle sports. He works in lifestyle sports, but I'm saying that because I used to work there, but in a different shop.
You know, and he's coming to her shop. So potentially he might find out that there was a fling between them.
And he's going to be the
manager.
manager.
Then that is like going to be a bit of...
Yeah, maybe that's it. Or the awkwardness.
Yeah.
See, unfortunately, we've no control over what happens in the future.
Yeah.
And even if she leaves, he could still find out off that fella that they had a fling.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So, and then it's like, are you giving up your job to avoid an uncomfortable feeling?
Yeah.
And then what are you going to do for your career?
Yeah.
Do you know, like you had a fling.
You give very good.
She's very, obviously this is our job, so I'm like, you do like this like that.
But like this particular girl, like, okay, she had a fling, sure, like that's her past.
Yeah.
She's not pursuing that.
So you would say, do you think she should tell him before he goes in?
I think that's her own decision, because we all decide on what we tell our partners when we meet them about our past.
Yeah, whether you want to tell them
whether
everything.
You want to tell them everything or whether you don't even bring the conversation up. Whether everyone assumes, like when you meet someone, you know they have a past unless
and you don't want really to know about everything.
Unless you're really young, and together a couple will navigate what they feel is appropriate for their relationship. So some couples like to ask a lot of questions about the past. Other couples kind of just make it a normal, natural thing to know that of course there's going to be a past there. I think for her, maybe the reason why she thinks she needs to think about it and reflect on it is because potentially her new partner might find out. So does she tell him before it comes out and be honest with him that she potentially was dating someone? She doesn't have to go into details.
That she was just seeing that was
because really it's in the past. Like if she's choosing to leave that
it's not as if while they were together she's been doing that, you know?
And she has been with him 6 months. I'd probably just be honest, because I just think
as a respect thing, I'd like to know. But again, it obviously depends on what type of people they are and how she feels she wants to go.
Yeah, and there's also like the other scenario of like, you know, does she want her new partner to be looking at him and thinking, why was my girlfriend with you?
Yeah,
you know, like, and comparing, and you know, that might not happen. He might not even care. He might he might be just like, oh, whatever. You know what I mean?
She's
like,
probably over. But that's what she said. She's overthinking in her head.
Of course,
do you know
she
what I mean?
And she's playing out scenarios. The bit about her leaving her job, I think that she needs to really think about her career and her finances and put herself first. This girl has dated someone. We've all dated someone. We all have pasts. Yeah. And unfortunately, your past could be anywhere. Like, you don't know when it's going to come.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and sometimes we just have to face them conversations when they come, or sometimes we can have them conversations in hope that we're letting it be known before it even comes out. Does that make sense?
I suppose as well, she has to think, if it came up afterwards and if she didn't tell him and it came up, would she feel
that makes
worse?
It worse? Yeah, because then she's probably going to be like, oh no, or what are you going to say? You can't say no, because then you're going to be like, well, what are you lying for?
How is
she, no?
Yeah, and how is she going to feel like in both scenarios? If she tells him first, she has to deal with that awkwardness and get it out of the way, or like, what about if it's 6 months on and all the lads are talking about it in the canteen? You know, she's probably overthinking.
I feel like she's going to be in control of the situation, where if she doesn't, she's going to be constantly tippy-toeing around the job,
worrying.
And people will actually, I'd say, get that vibe.
Yeah, or she might be afraid. Like, she might think she's grand for a couple of weeks, and then she might be afraid, oh, it might get said.
Yeah.
Or someone might crack a joke and it might be subtly said but not directly said.
Yeah.
Do you know? And
100%.
If she I think for anyone, when we're making a decision that we're caught and there's all these different scenarios that can happen, what I would suggest is doing a pros and cons list. Yeah. Right now, the pros and cons if you don't tell them.
Yeah.
Pros and cons if you do tell them. And then it comes down to, how do you want to set the tone of your relationship? As in, like, do you want your relationship to be open and honest? Yeah. Because if you want your relationship to be open and honest and you're expecting that from your partner, you need to also bring that.
Yeah. I actually personally think tell him before he comes. So as a respecting, and then like that, you have that open and honesty from the get-go. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just my personal opinion. Yeah, I think I would prefer that from my partner, and I think I would do that if I was in that position. As a respecting, and I wouldn't want people laughing about it. Whereas he can just brush it off, you've told him, there's nothing else that can come as a surprise, and he's moving forward past that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if it's a little while down and he only gets told, he'd probably be like, why didn't you tell me? I'm a manager.
Yeah, he respect you more for telling you, like,
yeah.
You
know? Yeah, and for him as a manager, he needs to be respected by the staff.
Yes.
And if the staff know something about him that he doesn't know they know, that could make him feel disrespected.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So I personally think
honesty is the best policy.
But again, that's such good, like, proper deep advice. Yeah. Maybe just like tell him, don't tell him. But I love that. Yeah. So we're gonna get dug into the questions then, Aviva, if you want to start. Yeah. So the questions are obviously going to be about yourself, Sinead. Yeah.
So can you share a little bit about your personal journey and what led you to becoming a therapist?
Yeah. So I would say, a lot of traumas in my life. I won't go into them, but I had a lot of traumas that I didn't deal with. And then what happened was, I was a young mother and I had 2 kids. And I would say after my second child, I suffered with postnatal depression. Didn't know it was postnatal depression. Yeah. Didn't really know what was going on. And then I think what happened was my mental health started to deteriorate. And I suppose, like, in my environment growing up, you know, no one really talked about mental health. It was,
and especially so long, a couple of years ago as well. So even when you're saying postnatal depression as well, it wasn't such a big thing years ago, whereas now people are more aware of it. Like, how old is your second child now?
She's 14.
So that's 14 years ago you're talking. Yes, there was a lot of research that's been done since then.
So so what happened was, then my mental health was deteriorating, and I noticed that I had this, like, really deep, empty hole and feeling within myself. And I kind of, like, to other people around me, I would have looked okay. Yeah. But on the inside, I was rattling. Like, it was like a constant feeling of not feeling safe, rattling, and emptiness. Something's not right. So anyway, long story short, my sister kind of noticed something wasn't up. And she brought me to a doctor. I spoke to the doctor. I was very honest with the doctor. I told him how I was feeling, and then he referred me to the hospital. And I went to the hospital, and their kind of care that they gave me was great and all. It was brilliant, but they had offered me to go on medication, and I really, really didn't want to go on medication. I just felt like, I do think that some people have to go on medication, but for me, I felt like I didn't want to go on the medication first. I wanted to try something else. So I had decided then to kind of look into therapy and to really kind of start maybe going to therapy as well. So I went to therapy obviously for a few years, and through that I really kind of seen the benefits of it, and I kind of thought like I'd love to learn more about this. And at the start it was, I want to learn more about this for myself.
Yeah.
And even when I went to college, like it was like, oh yeah, that's me now, I need to learn about that. And then it was never really about like, oh, I'm going to be a therapist.
Yeah.
But then as time went on and I was studying, you know, obviously I was thinking of my career, and then I was thinking I really want to kind of try and help people the way I was helped, and give back to people in the way that I found the benefits of therapy, and to give that, I suppose, to others, you know, because I didn't really know about it, and no one in my family had gone to therapy. Like it just wasn't a common thing. Not many people, none of my friends had gone to therapy. So it was one of them situations. And I noticed like that I was trying to, over the years, escape from the traumas, and I was trying to distract myself from them. And it just got to a point where they weren't going anywhere. Yeah. And I needed to get into therapy and deal with them and look at them and look at my life and see what was going on for me.
So you would say that therapy and no medication helped for you?
Helped for me personally,
right. Yeah. That's a good start.
That is.
And can you go in to tell us what actually therapy is?
Yeah, so I suppose before I answer that, I'll go back to then what happened. So I went to college. Yeah, no. I went to college, and I went in 2015. I would say I started to be a therapist, and I studied a degree, and then I went on and studied a Master and Minors Award, and then I went on to more study. And then in between all of that, I was working. So I was working in a therapy centre up in Tallaght, and I was working in a therapy centre in Fatima, which is another area. And then I started my private practice, which is located at the Wellness Loft in Dublin 12. And then I was working contracted for services. Oh, right. So as a therapist, so I worked for domestic violence services, so with women especially, and with their children. But I don't work with the children, I work with the women. So I worked for them still am working for them for years. And then I worked with adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. Oh, geez. So I've kind of worked like in specific areas, but also in general therapy over the years.
So would you cover all therapy?
Yeah, I cover all therapy in my private practice, but I also have specialties and experience in certain areas. Okay. I would say.
Okay, so then what will you explain to me then what therapy is?
Yeah. So therapy is basically where you go to talk to someone about any kind of emotional, behavioural problems that you have going on. And it's to help you to identify, I suppose, emotions or challenging behaviours, and to really work on them to help you to be better within yourself. So you kind of go, you find a therapist, you go and sit with your therapist, and a therapy session is about 50 minutes long, and you would talk about what's going on for you in them therapy sessions. It's usually advised at the start or suggested to go weekly. Now, you don't have to go weekly, you can go every second week, but you kind of have to maintain that relationship for the first while to kind of really
feel the
benefits of it. Unfortunately, you have to do that at the start, and then you can dip in and out of therapy.
And then I suppose you start to feel comfortable, don't you? Like when you start to build that relationship then with your therapist, you start to feel comfortable, and then you start to open up a little bit more as well.
Like, obviously depends how much you've went through as well, how much time you need in therapy, probably, does it?
Yeah, and exactly, and it depends on your personality. Yeah. So, you know, some things for people, like we all have a different level of what we can cope with and what we can tolerate. And our emotional, I would say, strength or our emotional intelligence might be all at different levels. Yeah. So what might hurt you might not hurt you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, or what you're able to manage, you might not be able to manage. So we're all made in different ways. So different things can affect us. Yeah. Not like our friends or whatever, you know. So there's no, like, you can't just say, oh yeah, go in and do 6 weeks and you'll be grand.
Yeah, I only did 6 weeks, it'll work for you in 6 weeks.
Yeah, now some people will, you know, and you do have the specific types of therapy that are more solution focused and work more kind of in a short term way. Right. Would I say that they can suit all issues? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, different issues, I think, need different types of therapy modules. So when a therapist is trained, they're trained usually in multiple different types of modules, and what that is types of therapy that they can kind of switch in and out of with their clients. And as a therapist develops, they have to continuously do more and extra study. Right. And they usually specialize in certain areas with that study.
Can I ask, sorry, it seems like you've done this for so long.
I know.
How long have you actually been studying to get to this point now? Like, how long have you been doing?
2015, so nearly 10 years.
10 years, yeah. You
And
can
I've
tell
been
that you
working
have that experience,
Yeah,
though,
you
and you've
have.
gone through.
Because
literally
she's
all
not just
different
talking about one thing, she's
one
literally
specific,
knows
yeah.
so much, like it's really good. But can you talk about any misconceptions people might have against therapy?
Yeah, so what I hear a lot is, I went to a therapist for one session and it didn't work.
That's me. Sorry, that's me. I'm just gonna be honest.
And
Yeah.
what happened for you?
No, I just went and I just actually felt like
She's very hard, right? So I am a crier, like, and I'm very in touch with my emotions. But Eva doesn't like to have emotions, if that makes sense. So that's like you were saying, everyone is different. Like, those two couldn't be more opposites.
Listen,
in
I
terms of
have a best
emotions.
friend who I call the ice cream.
Yeah, like she
doesn't-
won't cry, and she's like, I can't cry, and I'm like, I've already cried twice today.
Sure.
Like, do you know what I mean? So like,
oh no, my brother went to Italy and he was like, Aoife, I wish you were there because I was the only person that wasn't crying. And I was like, that's actually bad. That you wanted me to be there so I wouldn't cry.
So he feels normal in not crying.
yeah, where it is normal.
Where
like,
she
people
would have
have
been
obviously
like crying
different.
near river, I get the tissues in.
Yeah,
You know what I
do
mean?
you know, we're
So-
just two different people. But what happened to you in your therapy session?
What did you feel didn't work for you?
So basically, I don't even really know her because it was actually years ago at this stage when I went. Was it? I think I went about 5 years ago, and that was the last time I went. But when I went in, I just felt like it was just so awkward. Felt like I didn't even feel like I wanted to say what I wanted to say.
Sure.
And then I don't know. Do you know what? I probably just didn't want to talk.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So it's great that you're saying all them things, because what I was going to say is you have to find the right therapist for you. And what I would suggest to people, any of the listeners that are listening into this or watching this, that you ring your therapist, you look through I'll give you like any details that you've seen, but you look up therapists, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you read their profile first of all, and usually they'll say what areas they work with.
Right.
So they'll say like anxiety, abuse, addiction,
Yeah.
You know your issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see, okay, well, they have my issue there on their little list. Do you know?
Yeah.
Now I'll arrange to have a call with them.
Right.
So in that call, most therapists will give you a 15-minute free call or consultation. You know,
I didn't actually know that they did that. Yeah.
And in that, they'll ask you, why do you want to come to therapy? And you tell them why, but you can also ask them,
Question.
so do you feel you've experienced with this?
Yeah.
And they'll say to you, here's I do or I don't, or yeah, I can work with that, or da. If you still then are starting to feel like, oh yeah, I think I could get on with this therapist, I think this therapist could kind of understand me and relate to me, I'll go see them, and you're still a little bit like, but I still don't know, go for 1, 2, 3 sessions max and make up your decision then. And you could even say to therapists, listen, I'm just going to kind of take a feel for it because I really don't know whether we're still the right fit.
Yeah.
So I'll come for a couple of sessions and see how we get on.
I don't know, maybe if back then, because I think I was only like 19 or 20.
You just probably, it was probably the
I don't know
awkwardness,
if I
and
was
you didn't
probably
feel
a
like
bit
you were
too
able
young
to
as well,
talk.
and I felt
Like,
it
and you
was
probably weren't as confident as talking as you are
Yeah,
now.
'cause
Like, I
I
would
feel
feel
like,
confident in talking and that. Like, you feel open to tell people things because like she'll tell you anything now, but probably back then as well.
And
you
I'd
weren't.
be really like brush it off, like I'd be
Sure.
grand, you know, that type of a vibe. But now I really do feel like maybe now, because it is a little bit older, probably a little bit easier to get more stuck into the situation.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. There always has to be a time for therapy, and you do have to, in a way, kind of
Be ready
to
for it
therapy
as well.
Yeah.
and be ready for it. And you know, like you, when I was about 19, I went to a therapist, and I was like, oh no, that's not good for me. But then later on, when I was suffering really bad, I was like, well, did I really kind of try it?
Yeah, did you
Yeah.
give it a real
Like,
go?
to be very honest with you, when I first went to the first ever therapist, because I didn't trust people.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't trust this person. I'm not telling them what went on in my
Yeah.
life. I'm not going to tell them.
I think better than telling anybody else.
So it was a real kind of, I was like, from the get-go, I was kind of very like shut off.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it is like, I do think
Real
you have to be
close.
ready for therapists.
And find the right therapist.
The
as well.
other definitely. The other misconception that I would say is still kind of around now. I think it's not as much, but I do think that people think they're going to be judged, or they're going to be talked about, or seen as being mad, or
Yeah.
there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Well, I am mad that there is something wrong with me, so I need to go.
No, but really, therapy is a form of self-care. Just like
Yeah.
going and getting your hair done. You know, we go and we get these treatments done for the outside of our bodies, and we look great and we feel good about ourselves. But you also have to go and speak about what's going on the inside.
Yeah.
And
That
as
is
a
a very
form
good
of
way.
self-care, like, you need to be looking after what's going on in the inside.
Well, this
and
is
your
the whole point
emotional
of
state.
this
That's what
podcast
I'm
as well.
saying,
Like,
because-
this is why we said that we were doing this podcast from the start. We wanted, basically, when people come in, and like that, myself and Eva are beauty therapists, but you don't realise people come in and literally tell you their life stories.
Yeah.
And they actually say that they feel like they're after coming in and getting things off their chest because they feel comfortable enough to talk to us. And that's what we said the whole point of this podcast was, is so that people felt like they had a bigger platform to do that. And they wanted to text in anonymously as well. Like, so it is a form of therapy, I feel like.
It literally is, so it honestly is.
I actually did a therapy, because I'm gonna laugh at me when you say this, and I don't know what you think of this, but is hypnosis a form of therapy?
Hypnosis is not therapy like psychotherapy counselling.
Right.
It's more like, it does help people go to hypnosis to maybe try and like overcome like habits,
being on
like
drugs
smoking
or whatever.
habits.
Well, yeah,
you know, I would say it's a tool that can be used alongside therapy.
Right. As I tried.
No, it's called hypnotherapy. So it has.
That's what it was. It was
yeah.
hypnotherapy. So it was during actually towards the end of COVID, and I put on a little bit of weight, and I was trying to do hypnosis for emotional eating.
Sure.
So when people hear me saying this, so I paid like €1,200 for a hypnosis session, but it was like it was meant to be 3 hypnosis sessions, right?
Yeah.
So, but obviously I'd seen great reviews, blah, blah, blah. So that's grand, rang them, and they were basically saying the hypnosis is actually like a therapy session. And when I did it, it was like a therapy session. They kind of, they make you go deep and they make you go back. Because obviously they're trying to find like an underlying issue.
Sure.
But the thing was, and this is when you're gonna laugh, right? So hypnosis, I was obviously thinking to myself, okay, I'm gonna lie there and he's gonna have a clock and blah blah blah. It was done through Zoom.
Okay.
So like I paid €1,200 for like 3 sessions to be hypnotized, but like it was literally just
done through Zoom. Yeah.
Through Zoom, and it was like just me. I felt like it was a therapy session more than anything. But he did say it was a different form. It wasn't like close your eyes and I'll make you go into the next room and do something silly. Do you know what I mean?
And you see, no, and that's the thing. Like we see these things and we probably don't know what they're about.
They are like
therapy, as in the form of therapy that I do, psychotherapy, is I've gone and studied all behaviors.
Right.
I've studied, like addiction. I've studied grief. I've studied relationship issues. So, and then you look at them and then you use these theories and research and what's out there to work to help people.
Right.
Whereas hypnotherapy, it is like a therapy or a form, but it's not therapy as in I'm going to counselling to work on my mental health.
Right.
It's a one-off tool that's
try help with a habit
in a more of a kind of a short-term. It'd be like I go to meditation to help me feel relaxed, but okay, so that can work and that's great. But if you're still got other issues in your life, you might actually have to go to therapy.
Yeah, well, it didn't work anyway. I can tell you that because I still emotionally.
So there you go. But I'm not saying that these things do work. That's why they're out there.
Yeah.
But that's not like, it's not for all issues that you.
And again, like you said, I probably wasn't ready. I was probably just throwing COVID and says, "Oh look, I'll just try this." I probably wasn't ready to take it in. Yeah. Yeah.
Like a person could come to therapy, talk therapy, and be like, "No, that's not for me. I need medication," and they need medication. That's fine. We're all different.
And who would you say therapy is for everyone, or who would you say therapy is specifically for?
I think it's for everyone.
Yeah.
I do think it's for everyone. I do. And like back to what I was saying, like it's unfortunate that people are seen and made feel like they're being judged for going to therapy.
Yeah, that there's something wrong with you.
When really, like, therapy can be used as, like, therapy is great for having emotional stability, emotional resilience, in your life, and emotional intelligence, so that when something happens to you, you're not knocked off your kilter and you're not floored by what's going on.
Yeah. What does that word resilience mean? Resilience is like a strength within you. Because it says that in the affirmations that I listen to, it says I am resilient, and I say it, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah, it's
like I just wanted to ask what
it's like I'm strong, I can manage this, I can cope with this, I can get on with this.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because life, unfortunately, things happen in life.
Yeah.
And we've no control over them. And like you can be hit with something and suddenly like it just overwhelms you and consumes you. So it might be a case of going and getting whatever help you need for that time.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Even if it's just something silly, like, so say, for example, there's a hair trend and you don't have that hair trend. If you were just going to your therapist and saying, everyone has this hair trend, like, you would say something completely different. You don't need to follow what everyone else is doing. Do you know, like, the way you would you would make them feel like they're not in the wrong, where sometimes people feel like they're in the wrong because they're not following trends, or they're different, or there's something wrong with them. But sometimes they just need to hear a different outcome, like, do you know what I mean? Like, or a different opinion. Whereas if they're with the same group of friends and they all have the same opinion, that one person's probably going to feel like that different or like that there's something wrong with them for going to therapy. Like,
Yeah,
did that make sense what I said?
Yeah, it did.
No,
make
did
sense,
it?
because you're saying that in society nowadays,
In society,
people
exactly.
are feeling like they need to be all the same, or
Yeah.
they need to keep up with all this on trend,
on social media,
you know,
and stuff.
and
Yeah,
they need to maintain these levels of everyone has to have design or you
Yeah.
know, whatever
Yeah.
it is, or you always have to look good, or and unfortunately, like, you know, sometimes the world just doesn't work like we're all the same. It doesn't. We all have to be different at some point. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to kind of, like, for example, if something new comes out, like a new hairstyle, and everyone likes it and they go and get it done,
and they make them feel better.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you know?
Yeah.
And like, don't forget, with evolution, we're always changing in how we look and how we are. So like, naturally, like, things are going to change. Like, even with you in the beauty industry, like, you have noticed, like, now, like, you know, having good eyebrows is in, you know, like,
thicker brows compared to thinner brows from years ago.
Like whereas years ago there might have been something so different. You know, so it's like there's always going to be things on trend that people will feel maybe I have to, or go and get that done, or, you know, or maybe they might go, I really don't want to get that done, but I feel pressured to get that done.
Everyone else is getting it done. And then what actually benefits then do people actually achieve from therapy?
Yeah, so I kind of spoke a little bit about it there, like with the emotional resilience. I would say, like, a lot of the benefits that people get from therapy would be self-growth, self-development, support, care, and emotional well-being, a feeling of, you know, improved communication, emotional intelligence. Like, there's loads of benefits. It just depends on where you're at. I'd say that one of the main benefits that I always think happens for anyone who goes to therapy is an improved relationship with yourself and improved relationships with others around you in your life.
Yeah. So you talked about, like, improved relationships, like healthier relationships. So what does that look like for someone?
So a healthy relationship is where you actually love and care for yourself. You're respectful towards yourself. You're choosing habits and routines in your life that are fulfilling for you, that are good for you. You've got, like, goals and achievements that you're working towards. You've got boundaries in your life where you're not accepting certain things, you're being assertive. And then, like, a good relationship, let's say, with someone else, I would say first and foremost,
you have to have a healthy relationship with yourself.
It is
true. It's like that. You have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. Like, my partner has that, like, tattooed on him, but I really do believe it. Like, you have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. And, like, that is the truth.
A lot of people throw that around, you need to love yourself, but they don't go into what that's about, or what that looks like. And it does look different. And I would bring it right back down to, you know, your self-esteem, like improved self-esteem, and always kind of working on your self-esteem as well, like, and your self-care and looking after yourself. And and your confidence. And even like that, like, being in a healthy relationship with someone else, then after you've done the healthy relationship with yourself and you maintain that healthy relationship with yourself, when you then go into a healthy relationship with someone else, like, the traits of a healthy relationship again is unconditional love, respect, trust, loyalty, faithfulness. It's allowing each other to be independent also in the relationship.
To be yourself.
It's encouragement, it's supporting each person to be individual. It's also shared responsibility, shared decision making. And they're what really makes up a healthy relationship. You know, unfortunately, relationships don't just last on love alone.
Yeah, they have to be a team. Literally.
There has to be a combination of all these things. And when you meet someone, you negotiate these things because you've already done that relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And if you, like, probably going to get, like, I don't know, slated for this, but if you have, and I believe, if you have low self-esteem within yourself, you are susceptible and you can be controlled, manipulated, and potentially abused. And that's because, unfortunately, someone will see your low self-esteem and they'll disrespect you, or they'll treat you
and you're allowing it as well.
And you'll question that and think, because you've got low self-esteem, you'll say, what is it about me that this is happening? No, it's not you. It's them.
So what is the actual signs of an unhealthy relationship?
So the signs of an unhealthy relationship is any physical, verbal, emotional, psychological, sexual, financial abuse. It's manipulation, it's control, possessiveness, overt jealousy, you know, trying to, like, kind of if your partner, let's say, if you're in a relationship and you're trying to just talk about how you're feeling or your needs and you're being dismissed and ridiculed and put down and criticized, like that is dangerous territory. That is an unhealthy relationship.
No, sorry, I'm listening to all this and I forget I have to ask questions and I'm like, this is actually
I'm like literally taking it all in as well.
Sorry, so how can someone change from being in an unhealthy relationship to being in a healthy one?
So I would say first and foremost, if you're in an unhealthy relationship, a dangerous unhealthy relationship, seek support and seek safety immediately.
Right, yeah.
Immediately. You know, I'm not saying that people can't, I do believe people can change, but I also think that sometimes, unfortunately, it may mean that if your partner is not changing and you've tried to communicate with them and you've tried to put boundaries in with them and they're still harming you, I would say that you need to seek support and safety immediately.
Yeah,
so
to try and leave the situation.
To potentially try and leave the situation. And if you have a good, you'll know your partner better than anyone else.
Yeah.
And if you feel that your partner's going to harm you if you leave, I would say then you might have to, in worst case scenarios, get a court order, so protection order, safety order, or a barring order if you live with that person. And then after you've gotten safety and support, I would then seek a therapist and go to counselling to work on potentially the relationship with yourself.
Yeah, sorry, no, I was just going to ask, so obviously that's if you feel like you're in harm's way. Do you think there's an unhealthy relationship that you could change to a healthy relationship?
That's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
So would you recommend like for them to come to therapy together or around?
Yeah, 100%. So sometimes like if there's unhealthy patterns in the relationship, but it's not fully an unhealthy relationship and there's still really good things happening in the relationship, I would suggest, it comes back to communication in all relationships.
Yeah, it does.
You have to communicate back to your partner your boundaries or what's affecting you or how you're feeling because of, and it's not that your partner might not even be aware of what they're doing.
Yeah, you might be oblivious to it completely.
And then it's like you work on negotiating that issue. And if you find that you are at loggerheads and you are just kind of not getting past the issue and the issue keeps arising, I would say go to couples therapy. And couples therapy is great because it also works for the couple get to go, and there may also be a part where they might say, right, you come to me next week on your own.
Yes.
And then you come to me next week on your own. Do you know what I mean? To help with that issue.
But you know what it is, I'd say, I haven't been to couples therapy, but I'd say usually if you're having an argument, sometimes it blows up and someone walks out. Sure. You kind of can't leave the situation and you actually have to sit and listen.
But years ago,
I'm assuming that's what couples therapy.
Yeah, well, even what you're saying there, so if someone is getting if they know that they can't speak properly, let's say an argument happens, right? And let's say, let's just pretend for a second that I feel like I'm getting really angry at my partner and I know I'm going to probably say something hurtful.
Yeah.
That's where I need to say to my partner, listen, I'm really triggered right now. I'm going to go inside. I'm going to take a break from this situation and I'll come back to you in about 2 hours or an hour when I've calmed down and we'll talk about it then.
Yeah, that's really
That's
mature.
a very big key. That's
not exiting where you're packing your bags and leaving the house and you don't know what's happening. That is mad. Yeah.
I'm picturing even doing this now.
No, but it happens because unfortunately.
And then it's just a heated thing as well. You just blow up.
And not only that, but we're not taught the skills.
Yeah.
We're not taught the skills. We grow up in environments, I grew up in an area where it was normal to have violence.
Yeah.
It was normal for crime. It was normal for to know that potentially there's really, really bad arguments going on in people's houses.
Yeah, you can hear it through the wall.
If you grew up in an environment or in a family and you've never been taught healthy relationship skills, and you've not been shown what a healthy relationship is, you don't know. So you're just coming out of what you know. And what you know, maybe, pack these bags up, out, throw them.
Yeah. But these are literally new skills.
Because maybe you don't know how to communicate.
Or to deal with
it. And maybe you're flooded with emotions. Yeah. You know what I mean? And maybe you don't know how to regulate your emotions. And maybe you don't know it's okay to take a break. And maybe, it's all about looking at the relationship with yourself and developing the skills and the tools to form a better relationship with yourself and then to bring that out into other relationships that you're having.
So if you do have an unhealthy relationship as well, you can turn it into a healthy one. And you recommend if it's not working with communication, to go to couples
Yeah,
therapy
if
then.
you have a presenting issue in your relationship that you find is consistently happening, and you try talking about it and you aren't really getting anywhere or saying eye to eye, I would suggest going to couples therapy. Yeah,
that's good.
Or even, you know, if you feel like potentially like your partner doesn't want to go to couples therapy,
because men will be quite, I think, have a different opinion about couples therapy compared to women. I really think there's a misconception again.
We don't know what it is as well. I think it's this country. It's just not a thing in this country. Like if you actually go and like,
well, we're just probably
places,
surprised.
I've heard and seen of people doing that a lot. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Maybe in a sense.
Yeah. No, I do.
But if you felt like that he didn't want to go, what would you recommend then?
If your partner doesn't want to go, doesn't feel a need to go to therapy,
pack his bags.
Well, that's an option. That is an option. You know, you could potentially go to therapy to try and figure out what's going on for you.
Yeah.
Which then may help you to go at whatever the situation is in a different way.
Angle. Yeah.
Which that might then help him to be able to be a different way.
Yeah.
But, you know, it still comes back to eventually, potentially the two people, like a relationship is two people. It takes two to tango. Yeah. It doesn't matter if he's 10% and you're 90%.
It's still the two of you.
It has to be the two of you.
Yeah.
So, you know, you don't, I suppose I don't want to be leading people thinking that if they go into therapy, their relationship's going to be sorted because they're in on their own. Yeah. Not necessarily.
We could try it.
Because you've no control over that with our person, and it's whether they're able to kind of develop with you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So is there any tools or resources that people can use to improve?
Yeah, so there's a lot of there's a lot of psychoeducational tools or psychological tools. To be honest, I've actually created a course. And the course is Attracting Healthy Relationships, and in that course I first and foremost focus on the relationship with yourself, and I give you like tools and learnings and teachings, and we kind of go a little bit back into exploring like your relationship patterns, right? You know, through your past, whatever, and then I give you the tools to have a healthy relationship with others, and that's like tools to show you how to look at compatibility, communication, boundaries, assertiveness. And also, you know, navigating your way through that healthy relationship.
Is that like an online course or is that one-to-one?
It's going to be in person.
Right.
It's coming in September. So I'm really bad with social media, so I haven't promoted it.
I'm like, sign us up for like self-help, please.
I know, but not even I'm listening to you, and not only am I thinking about myself or relationship, I'm actually thinking about my relationships that I have with other people.
Not
that I meet. I have a relationship with everyone. Like we have a relationship now. Me and Vanessa have a relationship. Do you know what I mean? And I've been thinking like, what can I do to help situations in normal relationships with people, with friends, with brothers, with anyone in my family, like, do you know what I mean? In real life,
regardless, we are going to have relationships in our life, whether they're just
doesn't have to be
platonic, like love. You know, people nowadays have multiple loving relationships, like whatever. You know, with your children, you're going to have in work, you're going to have relationships. So, you know,
so that course would help with all types of relationships.
I do have another course that I am also going to be promoting, and it does tie into the course, and the other course is increasing your self-esteem and confidence, and that really helps
lovely.
With the relationship with yourself. That really helps with the relationship with yourself.
I think we need to do that.
So they're the two courses that I have on offer. Everything that's in them courses comes from all my years of learning,
all my experience,
and all the tools that I've gathered over the years of working with clients and in my professional work.
So do you think this would be a good course for people to do that would love to do therapy but have never done it yet, to kind of ease themselves into kind of that realising how to love yourself and all them little things?
I wouldn't say this is a supplement for therapy. I would say that this is an educational piece to help you, to give you tools around maybe the relationship with yourself and the relationship with others, and to learn potentially, like if you're sitting there at home now and you're saying to yourself, yeah, do you know what? I actually don't know what a healthy relationship is.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like,
And I even don't even think I even have ever had a healthy relationship with myself. You know, then I would say my course is for you. Or if you find you've had a pattern of these not so nice relationships that are quite unhealthy,
or accepting things as well
over and over again, and you find yourself in situations where you attract these type of people, I would say my course is for you. Therapy, you see, like you might come to my course and there might be other stuff like years of other stuff that has gone on that really, like,
that's the reason
dig into it a little bit more,
and you need to really look at, Because unfortunately, right, when you go through a traumatic event in your life, sometimes, like especially as a child or a young person, you form these distorted cognitions. Now that's me using professional language. Yeah. But what that means is you basically try and figure out, why did this happen? And what actually happens is sometimes as a child you blame yourself. And you go, oh yeah, it must be me. Yeah. It's me. I'm the fault. I'm the bad one. I'm the reason why. See, no one cares about me. I'm not loved.
Yeah.
I
and
can't
you bring that into your adult
And then
life.
without you realising, you have that about you.
Yeah.
And you don't even know that that's playing out.
Yeah.
So when someone comes along and you meet a partner and he's roaring and shouting at you horrible names, you're going, oh yeah, it must be me.
Oh yeah. I'm just picturing, there's a few people that I know. Are in these situations, and all I can feel is, oh God, I feel it for them. And they actually, like, even when you're speaking in that soft tone, I can actually just picture them in the house, and you just want to, we were only literally talking about someone, and all we did was feeling like, oh God, you just love to take them out of the house and you just want to help them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is the thing, like I'll say to everybody, like the statistics out there say that 1 in 4 women will experience an unhealthy domestic violence relationship in their life. So even with us here now, if it's not one of us, it's someone we know. Someone we know. 100% true. So whether it's a friend, family member, so there's no shame. Like, if you're not given the tools and you're not taught what a healthy relationship is with yourself or with someone else, how are you to know? How are you to know? And if you're desperate, like, so for example, like, we all want to be loved. I don't care what anyone says.
Everyone does,
We all want to be loved. But if you've never been fully loved properly and you're craving that, but you don't know what that is, unfortunately, potentially, you might meet someone who literally love bomb you, gaslight you, but manipulate you. And use you.
And you probably don't even realise you're being manipulated.
But half of the time it's manipulation, because you don't get the love anywhere else. So the love they give you,
you're looking for that attention.
In a domestic violence relationship, a perpetrator, and I'm talking about the man who abuses, and now it can be women, because like the same-sex relationships, it can be the opposite way around as well. But a person who chooses to be that way in a relationship, now I'm talking ongoing, not just a once-off bad thing. I'm talking like ongoing abuse within that relationship. They want control and they want power over you in the relationship, and they use fear and intimidation in order to get power and control. That is not love. Love is allowing for you and loving you for the way you are, and allowing for you to be free within that relationship and to be yourself within that relationship. Does that make sense?
No, I definitely think this would have, like,
thinking of people that can't even be themselves in their relationships, and I'm like, oh God, like, the more you're saying it, the more I'm thinking, do you know what I mean?
I'm hoping that if there is anyone that is listening,
there,
that they can obviously contact you then as well. So is there, how could someone contact you if they did want to reach out to you and get in touch with you?
So I have, again, I'm really bad at social media, just gotta let that know. So I am on the IACP, so that's the Irish Association of Counsellors in Ireland. So I'm on that. But what I would say the best way to contact me is I have an Instagram page and a Facebook page of Minds Matter Counselling Service.
Minds Matter Counselling
and I might use my email.
And we'll tag it in.
So you can DM me through that. Now again, if I'm with clients and I'm working, I won't get back to you straight away. Or I have an email that I can give you that you can potentially give to someone if they DM you. I wouldn't say put it out there publicly.
So if anyone does,
even
though
someone wants to
actually DM us, and we can give them
the email to contact me. The other thing that I would suggest, like, if you don't want to come to me, Women's Aid are there. They have free helplines all the time. You can even just get advice or support. You can ring them anytime you want. And they also might be able to refer you on to someone as well. Do you know what I mean? For help. Or any other therapist, really. Like most therapists are trained in a lot of different areas. It's just that I suppose I have the expertise because
specifically in that.
I've experience in working in this field. Do you know what I mean? A lot of experience. So.
And like, obviously, before we finish up, is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners in general?
No, just
I think we've covered everything.
I feel like we've covered everything. Like, sure, can I just come back for another one?
No, thanks, Sinead. I actually like that one. I feel like as well, a lot of people would be relating to it, if that makes sense. So
well, I think when you asked me to come on here, I thought, I don't like being recorded. And when you work in a professional matter, you are I do have to stay private and stuff.
You can't go into detail.
And you know, with professional relationship, it's very confidential. That's another thing that I will say too, is like, it is very confidential. So, you know, like, it's not like whatever you bring to therapy is kind of kept in therapy. There is a few limits to confidentiality, which your therapist can explain to you, like, you know, if they thought a child is being harmed around, they have to break the confidentiality. But I mean, in general terms, like, anything that you talk about is confidential. Like, I would say, I think the only thing the reason why I came onto this podcast, or not the only reason, but the main reason why I came onto this podcast, was to maybe, one, you know, educate people or inform people or let it be known about certain things that are out there that maybe they don't know about. Now, I could.
No, well, I think I've learned
feel
a
like
lot
I need
as well.
therapy
I've learned a lot about healthy and unhealthy relationships, whether it's in like your partner at home or whether it's with friendships. Do you know what I mean as well?
Yeah,
sure. And people are only coming from what they've experienced in their life.
Yeah,
and we're not taught the skills, unfortunately. We grow up in environments where we mirror what we've seen other people do.
Yeah,
and we learn from that.
Yeah,
and it's not till someone says, actually, do you know, like, you can't behave like that.
Yeah, you can't treat me like that. Yeah,
that's when you go, uh-oh.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, and then some people don't go, uh-oh. Some people go, oh, I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
So, you know, you'll decide for you what you believe is healthy or unhealthy. What I will say as well, like, you know, if you do have children, now I know there probably a lot of younger clients on here, but even think of someone that you really, really love, whether it's a best friend, whether it's your child, whether it's your sister or your sibling, and just think, if they came to you and talked to you about the relationship that you have and said that they were in that relationship, would you say to them, leave, get help, or would you say, that's great?
Yeah.
And if you're virgin on the side of leave for your friend giving that advice, or your child, then there's something not right in your relationship.
Yeah, and that's great advice as well.
Yeah, so I think that's everything.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and so the next episode of the Woke Boy podcast will be out next week. We will announce soon who is going to be on, and if everyone
little snippets of it, so make sure to keep an eye on the Instagram.
Yeah, and if everyone could actually go and follow the Instagram at the Woke Boy podcast as well, we'd really, really appreciate it.